Hello friends, welcome to Vijay Mohan IAS Academy, and this is Vijay Mohan. Hope everyone is doing well and everyone's preparation is also in the right direction. As you know that we are dealing with APPSC Group 2 Mains Paper 2 Economy video series, and as part of this video series, now we are dealing with the Indian economy, and to be precise, Chapter 1 of Indian economy, wherein we are discussing plan and other related issues, right? And as part of this video lecture, in our previous classes, we had a discussion about the different types of plans, what are the definitions related to plan and other issues, and we also had a discussion about the planning commission and its functions, and what are the objectives of the different 5-year plans up to third 5-year plan, right? And after third 5-year plan also, we already had a discussion about the annual plans from 1966 to 1969. And in this video or in this class or lecture, I'll be dealing with starting from fourth 5-year plan and up to, I'll try to complete up to 8th 5-year plan if time permits, right? So, and you can observe that in our classes or in our lectures, we are not only discussing about the contents, and we are stressing on previous year questions related to that particular topic and practice questions also. If you see my previous classes, previous lectures, you will find that ample number of previous questions have been discussed related to the particular issue or particular chapter. And in the same way, I'm trying to give you enough practice through practice questions also, right? So if you have not seen, just go through my previous classes so that continuity will be established, right? Okay. So ఇప్పుడు ఏంటంటే fourth 5-year plan నుంచి స్టార్ట్ చేద్దాం. Yes. Yeah. Fourth 5-year plan, it was been implemented from 1969 to 1974. It was introduced under the Prime Ministership of Indira Gandhi and basically focused on sustainable growth and self-reliance as its primary goals. See, in each and every plan, basically questions were mainly focused on what are the objectives of the plans and what are the important events that had been occurred during that plan, whether the plan has been succeeded or failed, whether the plan achieved the intended target growth rate or not. Mainly on these items, if you see the previous year questions, mainly on these topics they were focusing, right? Okay, now it has focused on sustainable growth and self-reliance as its primary goals. This plan was influenced by the ideas of Ashok Rudramenon model but was drafted by D.R. Gadgil. Just try to remember this name, D.R. Gadgil. You will repeatedly you will get this name, right? So many things are attached to this name, D.R. Gadgil. You will get it in D.R. Gadgil formula also when we will read about the financial devolution to states, right, and grants to states, right? And when we are reading about the finance commission and other related issues, you will find familiarity with this name, right? Just try to remember this name. Okay, next. During this period, during the fourth 5-year plan, the government nationalized 14 major Indian banks and the Green Revolution boosted agriculture, right? So just try to remember these are the significant events that had happened during this plan. Yeah, during the fourth 5-year plan, the slogan of Garibi Hatao was given. This is very important, which was the original slogan of the 1971 general election. This was several times, this has been asked in question, right, in previous year examination, right? So Garibi Hatao slogan మనకి ఎక్కడ వచ్చింది, fourth 5-year plan, during the fourth 5-year plan, right? The drought prone area program DPAP was launched during the fourth 5-year plan. And one more thing, India also performed the Smiling Buddha underground nuclear test, that is Pokhran 1 in Rajasthan on 18th May 1974. This is not related to the economic planning as such. However, this is the significant event that had happened during the fourth 5-year plan, right? Next. One notable development during this period was that in 1972-73, India's trade balance recorded a surplus for the first time. So this is the important thing, and there is a scope that there might be a question on this issue, right? That was the very first time that India had experienced trade surplus after independence, right? and that happened until 1972-73 లో Indian economic history లో it was the first time that India achieved a trade surplus. Right, మీరు ఒకసారి I tried to find the data. If you observe, just see the table. Yeah, just see in 1972-73 imports in crores, right? It is in crores, 1867.4, and exports 1970.8. Now commodity trade balance, trade surplus is 103.4 crores. And now if you observe from 1970, 71, 72, all are in negative territory. So it is a trade deficit, right? And one more year is 1976 and 77, where you can find trade a slight small amount of trade surplus, that is 68.9 crores. Right, during this 1972, 73 and 1976, 77, if you see the amount of exports, the quantum of exports is more when compared to the quantum of imports. I mean to say, in monetary terms, quantum of exports is more compared to quantum of exports, right? So this is the significant date that you need to remember as far as trade surplus is concerned. And one more question that you will get is that why is there a trade surplus during 1972-73 particularly, right? But for this to occur, there was a background. During 1966, India took a decision of rupee devaluation. Rupee devaluation, right? So because of this devaluation, the effect of this rupee devaluation in 1966 and the economic situation or economic boom that was there during the initial periods of 1970s in the world economy, and the export promotion given by the Indian government during the initial periods of 1970s, this trade surplus has happened. Three things. One was rupee devaluation during 1966, and second thing is economic boom in the international economy during the 1970s, and third one is the export incentives given by the government during those years, and the another fourth one is the agricultural you can say productivity or production improved during the initial periods of 1970-71. So these four are the reasons for this trade surplus in 1972-73. ఇది ఒకసారి మీరు గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాల్సిన అంశం. This is an important aspect, right? And this data has been taken from the government sources only, right? So ఇది ఒక important aspect, fourth 5-year plan లో. And another one is that, however, it fell short of achieving the expected growth rate. So expected growth rate మనకి జీడిపిలో రాలేదు fourth 5-year plan లో. Target growth rate was 5.7%, whereas the achieved growth rate was only 3.3%. So it is a failed 5-year plan. Okay, next one. Yeah, I just tried to give you an additional information about drought prone areas program. Just go through it. Next, fifth 5-year plan from 1974 to 1979 or 78. Actually, the period of this fifth 5-year plan should be 1974 to 79. కాకపోతే పొలిటికల్ అన్స్టెబిలిటీ, ఆ తర్వాత దిస్ ఎమర్జెన్సీ సిచ్యువేషన్ ఇంపోజ్ చేయడము, సో వీటి వల్ల ఏమైపోయిందంటే ఇంటర్నేషనల్ ఇష్యూస్ అంతగా అనుకూలంగా ఉండకపోవడంతో ఫిఫ్త్ 5-year ప్లాన్ని జనతా గవర్నమెంట్లోకి రాగానే 78లోనే దీన్ని కట్టైల్ చేసింది, రైట్? So what are the objectives? Poverty alleviation and economic self-reliance. See, from I think starting from fourth 5-year plan, economic self-reliance, I think third 5-year plan lo start ayindi. Economic self-reliance మీద ఎక్కువగా ఫోకస్ చేయడం జరిగింది, రైట్? నెక్స్ట్ వన్. Yeah, it was originally planned to run until 1979, but for political reasons it was concluded as early as 1978. then this plan is often referred to as the poverty alleviation plan. So మీకు నెక్స్ట్ ఎగ్జామ్ లో ఇలా అడగచ్చు, విచ్ ప్లాన్ ఈజ్ రెఫర్డ్ టు యాజ్ ది పావర్టీ అలివియేషన్ ప్లాన్. మనకి గరీబీ హటావో స్లోగన్ వచ్చింది 4th 5-year ప్లాన్ లో, బట్ పావర్టీ అలివియేషన్ ప్లాన్ అని రెఫర్ చేసేది 5th 5-year ప్లాన్, రైట్. అండ్ డ్యూరింగ్ దిస్ పీరియడ్ సెవరల్ key initiatives were introduced, including the minimum needs program, 20-point program, and food for work scheme, right. And MNP, minimum needs program, was prepared by DP Dhar. ఈ ఫ్యాక్చువల్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ని మీరు కొంచెం గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవడానికి ట్రై చేయండి. అండ్ ఫుడ్ ఫర్ వర్క్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఇస్ ది poverty alleviation program, one of the I think initial programs, and one of the starting programs related to the poverty alleviation, right. And in 1978 in 1978 and the newly elected Morarji Desai government rejected this 5-year plan, 5th 5-year plan, and the target growth rate was 4.4%, achieved growth rate was 4.8%, which will be considered as the successful plan, right. Just try to go through the additional information about the food for work scheme. And it was a poverty alleviation program introduced in 1977-78, one of the first poverty alleviation programs, right. And after Janata government took power, as we saw that it has scrapped 5th 5-year plan. 5th 5-year plan ni total ga scrap chesi they tried to implement the continuing plans in 2 years, 1978 to 1980, wherein they put more focus, and they put focus also on the small village and cottage industries also, right. After cancellation of the 5th 5-year plan in 1978, Janata government introduced the continuing plan for the period 78 to 80, 1978 to 80. This plan was designed by Gunnar Myrdal and was developed in consultation with DT Lakdawala, an expert in rural development. So ఈ రెండు పేర్లు కూడా మీరు కొంచెం గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాలి, గున్నార్ మిర్దాల్ అండ్ డిటి లక్డావాలా. డిటి లక్డావాలా మీకు రిపీటెడ్గా పావర్టీకి సంబంధించిన ఎస్టిమేషన్ ఆఫ్ పావర్టీ లైన్ డెఫినేషన్స్ అక్కడ మనకి ఎక్కువగా వస్తుంది. అండ్ గున్నార్ మిర్దాల్ ఆల్సో had done extensive work as far as Asian economy and poverty and inequalities prevailing in the South Asian economies, right. దానికి సంబంధించిన బుక్స్ కూడా రాశారు. గున్నార్ మిర్దాల్ and also got 1974 Nobel Prize in Economics. సో ఎప్పుడైనా వీళ్ళ గురించి ఏదైనా బుక్స్ అడగడానికి కానీ లేదంటే నోబెల్ ప్రైజెస్ రిలేటెడ్ అడగడానికి కానీ ఛాన్స్ ఉంటే క్వశ్చన్స్ అడిగే ఛాన్స్ ఉంది, బుక్స్ మీద ఎక్కువగా క్వశ్చన్స్ అడిగే ఛాన్స్ ఉంటుంది. అందుకే మీకు ప్రీవియస్ క్లాస్లో కూడా I had a discussion, I just tried to give you some data about the books written by the prominent economists, including Amartya Sen, right. Okay, so Gunnar Myrdal. It was during this period that the integrated rural development program IRDP was introduced in 1978-79, and the continuing plan also prioritized the development of, as I told you, cottage and small industries. Just try to remember the facts about Gunnar Myrdal. As I told you that he wrote a book, Asian Drama, an inquiry into the poverty of nations, in 1968, and An American Dilemma, the Negro Problem and Modern Democracy, and he got a Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences in 1974. He is a Swedish economist, right. And yeah, then we will move to 6th 5-year plan. It's being implemented from 1980 to 85, 1980 నుంచి 85 వరకు ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేయడం జరిగింది. ఆబ్జెక్టివ్స్ ఏంటి? పావర్టీ ఎలివియేషన్, employment generation, and technological self-sufficiency. The plan focused on increasing investment and creating infrastructural facilities. So స్లోగా ఏంటంటే మీరు ఒకసారి అబ్జర్వ్ చేయండి, ఆబ్జెక్టివ్స్ కూడా ఏమవుతున్నాయంటే స్లోగా ట్రాన్సిషన్ అవుతున్నాయి. మొదట్లో ప్రొడక్షన్ అండ్ ప్రొడక్టివిటీ మీద, వాల్యూమ్ మీద, క్వాంటిటీ మీద ఎక్కువ ఫోకస్ చేసిన ఆబ్జెక్టివ్స్, as they go by, they are more focusing on self-sufficiency, right, and then infrastructural facilities. Then if you see in from 8th or 9th 5-year plan, you see more focus on human resource development. అలాగే మీరు 4th 5-year plan, 3rd, 4th, 5th 5-year plans నుంచి పావర్టీ ఎలివేషన్ మీద, ఎంప్లాయ్మెంట్ జనరేషన్ మీద ఎక్కువ ఫోకస్ చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. సో దెర్ ఈస్ అన్, యూ కెన్ సే, పాల్పబుల్ ట్రాన్సిషన్ ఇన్ ది ఆబ్జెక్టివ్స్. ప్రతి 5-year plan కి ఏంటంటే ఆబ్జెక్టివ్స్ చిన్నగా చేంజ్ అవుతూ వస్తున్నాయి అనమాట, రైట్. ఓకే, సో it is often referred to as the unemployment eradication plan. So మనకి 6th 5-year plan ని unemployment eradication plan అనడం జరుగుతుంది. 5th 5-year plan ని poverty alleviation plan అని చెప్పడం జరుగుతుంది. and allocated significant resources to the energy sector. Next. It underlined the beginning of economic liberalization by eliminating price controls, and then it was seen as the end of Nehruvian socialism. Nehruvian socialism lo entante public sector ki prominent role iవ్వడం జరిగింది, right? So ఈ సిక్స్త్ 5-year plan నుంచి there was more focus on economic liberalization than Nehruvian socialism, thereby reducing the, I think, regulatory roles of the government and government becoming more facilitator than regulator, right? To prevent overpopulation, family planning was introduced during the sixth 5-year plan, and on recommendation of the Sivaramakrishnan Committee, NABARD, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, was established, which is an important aspect, and many times questions were being asked on NABARD and Sivaramakrishnan Committee. Initiatives introduced during this period include the National Rural Employment Program, development of women and children in rural areas, DWACRA, Rural Landless Employment Guarantee Program, RLGP. About all these programs, we will be reading about all these programs while we are dealing with the poverty and other related issues and poverty alleviation programs, right? As of now, just try to remember which are the important programs that are being introduced in the sixth 5-year plan, right? And it is a quite successful plan. Target growth rate was 5.2% and achieved growth rate was 5.7% of GDP, right? Just try to go through the additional information about the NABARD. As I already told you, there were many questions in previous examinations asked, which were concentrated on NABARD. Next, 7th 5-year plan from 1985 to 1990, it prioritized food, work, and productivity, right? It departed from the Mahalanobis strategy and instead partially followed Vakil and Brahmanandam's wage strategy. So, ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే 7th 5-year plan నుంచి ఏంటంటే 7th 5-year plan particularly departed from the Mahalanobis strategy towards the Vakil and Brahmanandam wage strategy. So what is the Mahalanobis strategy, and what is the difference between Mahalanobis strategy and Vakil and Brahmanandam's wage strategy? Mahalanobis strategy entante it focused more on the capital intensive and big industries, right? Whereas the Vakil and Brahmanandam strategy focused on wage goods, not capital goods, wage goods and wage goods strategy, right? We will see it. So that is the basic difference. Just try to remember it. Significant allocations were made to the energy sector, leading to its nickname as energy planning plan, right? It is an energy planning plan. Now, yeah, before that we will see what is the Vakil and Brahmanandam strategy and what is the difference between Mahalanobis and Vakil and Brahmanandam's wage goods model, right? It is an alternative model of development propounded by Vakil and Brahmanandam. It is an alternative model of development thesis. When compared to Mahalanobis model is one type of model of development, and Vakil and Brahmanandam's model is one type of model of development. Whereas the Mahalanobis model focused more on capital intensive industries, Vakil and Brahmanandam's model focused on more on wage goods model. What are the wage goods means? Wage goods are nothing but the goods which are used by the common people on a daily basis, right? The strategy focused on prioritizing the production of wage goods like essential goods and services consumed by the general population. It is in sharp contrast to the Mahalanobis model, which emphasized the role of fixed capital, while Vakil and Brahmanandam laid stress on waged goods, or what they called liquid capital. So Mahalanobis model ante fixed capital మీద ఫోకస్ చేస్తే మనకి ఇక్కడ Vakil and Brahmanandam model వచ్చేసి లిక్విడ్ క్యాపిటల్ మీద ఫోకస్. లిక్విడ్ క్యాపిటల్ అంటే నథింగ్ బట్ ప్రొడక్షన్ ఆఫ్ ది wage goods, which are essential goods and services consumed by the general population, right? And what they call liquid capital in determining the growth of employment and income. So employment and income అనేది ఒక ఎకానమీలో మనకి లిక్విడ్ క్యాపిటల్ వల్ల it will be more affected by the, it will be more controlled, more regulated, and more affected by the liquid capital rather than the fixed capital అని చెప్తారు. This model sought to address the challenges of unemployment and poverty in developing countries like India. Okay. Next, what are the key features? Key features of wage goods strategy. I'll tell you briefly. Emphasis on wage goods, I already told you, and limited focus on heavy industries. Whereas in Mahalanobis model, there was heavy focus on, there was more focus on heavy industries. And role of savings and investment. So savings and investment kuda chala matuku manaki economic growth ni development ni affect chestundani cheptaru. So this is the basic difference between Mahalanobis model and Vakil and Brahmanandam's age group model. During this period, the seventh 5-year plan, during this period, Rajiv Gandhi and Manmohan Singh served as the chairman and vice president of the planning commission respectively, right? And it is also a successful plan. Target growth rate was 5%, whereas achieved growth rate was 6%. Okay. Just a minute. So after seventh 5-year plan during the 90s, as you know that there was a turmoil, political instability, foreign exchange crisis, and inflation related issues, and oil crisis, Gulf oil crisis, and there is a balance of payment crisis in the Indian economy. And because of that, because of those situations during the 1990 and 1992, those 2 years, there was no 5-year plan. However, there were annual plans being implemented, right? So after this, then again, you know that new industrial policy of 1991 came and LPG reforms were being introduced. Then again, the 8th 5-year plan started, right? So these 2 years, 1990 and 1992, there were annual plans. During this period, India faced several challenges, including political instability, foreign exchange reserve crisis, and high inflation. Right. In response to these challenges, annual plans were implemented for 2 years from 90 to 1992. These plans were introduced to address the present economic issues and to initiate new economic reforms. So there was not that much significant events that has happened during these plans. Now we will see one or two practice questions with respect to our about discussion. Consider the following statements about NABARD. NABARD is a specialized financial institution set up with a focus on providing credit and other financial support for agriculture and rural development, right? And then, yeah, just a minute. Second statement, NABARD was established based on the recommendations of the Narasimham Committee. Third statement, NABARD is responsible for the supervision of regional rural banks and cooperative banks. So which of the above statements is or are correct? So if you observe the three statements, first one is right and second one is right, correct, and first one and first statement and third statements are correct, but however second statement is wrong. Why? Because it was not based on the Narasimham Committee recommendation, whereas it was based on the Sivaramakrishnan Committee recommendation. So our answer is 3A and C only. Okay. Next one. Which of the following statements is or are accurate regarding the 7th 5-year plan 1985 to 1990? It focused on strengthening food security, employment generation, and advancing productivity. Second statement, the plan was often referred to as the energy plan due to its significant allocations to the energy sector. The plan strictly adhered to Mahalanobis model of development. Which of the above statements is or are correct? If you observe the three statements, the first statement and second statement, A and B, are correct. C statement is wrong. Why? Because the plan strictly adhered to not Mahalanobis model, whereas Vakil and Brahmanandam model of development focuses. So our answer will be the answer A and B only correct, right? So these are the two practice questions. So మనం next class నుంచి 8th 5-year plan నుంచి మనం next class లో చూద్దాం. Okay, until then, thank you and just try to follow.